What's up guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing, welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, back with another Q&A taking your questions to do with the zombie storyline and Easter eggs and answering them. So if you enjoyed today's video, as always, you know what to do. Drop a like rating anytime you feel like it. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, and without further ado, here we go. So the first question of today from Mr. Taylor XD says, "Hey BOA, my question is, when did Nakdir and Toten take place? And if you can, could you make a timeline of the maps? PS, your videos are the best, keep it up." So as you've asked me, can you do a timeline of all of the maps in terms of dates? When do they all take place? I believe we've got like 23 zombies maps in total or something like that. So what I've done for you guys is put them in order in terms of date. I know a lot of people actually ask me to do this. We know in terms of story it's a little bit different. Obviously Origins is a lot earlier before a lot of maps, but then again it comes quite late in terms of the story. And one of our maps out of the many that we have actually doesn't have a date. We don't know when it takes place, in the future, in the past. We know we go there a little bit after Gorod Karovi, but exactly when Revelations takes place, we don't know. Obviously, in terms of when we play them, this is how the order goes. It is Nakdir and Toten, Verrucht, Shino Numa, Derice, then we move on to Kino der Toten, 5, then Ascension, then Call of the Dead, Shangri-La, to Moon, Nuketown, then to Transit, then to Die Rise. Our next map is Mob of the Dead, then Buried, Origins, The Giant, Shadows of Evil, Darius and Draka, Zetsubo-no-Shima, Gorod Karovi, and Revelations. Those are the maps in order in terms of how we play them, but if we put them in terms of dates, it's quite a bit different. So we'd start off on Origins, which is June the 4th of 1918, that one's pretty obvious. We'd then move over to Mob of the Dead, which was December 31st, 1933. The next map is Shadows of Evil, April the 25th of 1945. So there's quite a big difference in terms of dates between those maps, but then we move on to Nakdir and Toten, the first map that we played, which was June the 4th of 1945. The next map is Verrucht, September the 6th of 1945. We then have The Giant, which takes place on October 13th of 1945. Next is Zetsubo-no-Shima, October 18th, 1945. Then we have Shino Numa, October 21st, 1945. The next one is Derice, October 28th, 1945. Then Darius and Draka, November the 5th of 1945. And then Gorod Karovi, November 6th, 1945. The next map in terms of dates is Shangri-La, which is April the 25th, 1956. The next one is Call of the Dead, which took place on March the 17th of 2011. Then we have Kino der Toten, October the 28th, 1963. And then we have 5 and Ascension, which both take place on the same dates, which is November the 6th of 1963. And then the next two maps again take place on the same date, which is Moon and Nuketown, and they happen on October the 13th of 2025. The next map in terms of date is Transit, October the 21st, 2035. Then Die Rise a day later, October the 22nd of 2035. And then finally Buried on December the 31st, 2035. And then of course, like I said, we have Revelations, but we don't have a date for that. So that is the list of maps if you put them in order in terms of dates, and as you can see, it's very different. We start off on Origins and end with Buried. And this list also really confused me because Derice and The Giant, both the same map, don't take place on the same date. The Giant actually takes place about 2 weeks before we play Derice, so that's quite strange. Then of course, if you didn't know this already, there's actually a 10-year gap between Transit and Nuketown. We know in Nuketown we can hear the Transit bus, but then it's actually a whole 10 years later before we play Transit. So again, that's another really strange one. Obviously, Call of the Dead takes place on the date that it actually released, which was March 17th, 2011. Zetsubo-no-Shima takes place before Darius and Draka, but then we have Gorod Karovi, which takes place just the day after Darius and Draka. So it's all really strange, but what you have to remember is that a lot of these maps take place in separate universes. Some of these maps are in the original timeline, some of them are in Dimension 63, some of them are in their own fractions, in their own separate universes. But there we go, hopefully you found that interesting. The next question of today from Joshua S Videos says, "Hey BOA, when you die, what makes you come back alive? Is it Dr. Monty or something else? So that's actually a good question, because we know in Black Ops 2 Zombies, in Transit, Die Rise, when it was Richtofen who was in control of the zombies, it seemed like it was him that would bring us back to life. Whenever we died, as you can see using the prime example in the Die Rise intro cutscene, when our characters go down the elevator, they all die. And just a little bit before that, Russman gets killed as well. The zombies, the jumping jacks, end up killing them. And so, as we see right at the end of that cutscene, our characters get teleported back in time to the beginning of Die Rise, and Samuel says, have we been here before? He kind of realizes the setting, realizes where he is, but he questions himself. He doesn't know that yes, he has been here before, but on his previous attempt, he died, and so was sent back to try to complete the Easter egg again.
That's it!
I don't understand!
What are you talking about, Stuhlinger? Misty made it pretty clear!
Accept your fate! Begin anew!
We're going down! We're going down fighting! Now!
Have we been here before?
And it's the same with our recent maps as well, as we can see in the Zetsubo no Shima cutscene. Our characters all end up dying. It seems like Takeo killed them for some reason, but obviously when we actually play the map, they're not dead. So clearly, when they died, they were sent back to the beginning to replay those same events over and over again. We know that every map is in a cycle, every map is in a loop, the whole zombie storyline is one giant loop, and so when we die, every time we die in a map without completing the Easter egg, every time we fail, we are sent back to the beginning to repeat those events over and over again until the cycle is completed and we move on to the next map. Kind of like Map of the Dead. We are stuck in a cycle until we do something different and complete the Easter egg. But your question is, who exactly is it that is keeping us alive? Is it Dr. Monty? Is it the announcer of the zombies? Who is it? Well, as I said, in Black Ops 2 it seemed to be Richtofen, but we know that before Black Ops 2 in World at War and Black Ops 1, it wasn't Richtofen who was in control of the zombies, it was Samantha, and I don't think she would want to keep us alive. She was trying to kill us, so why would she want to send us back in time to do those events over and over again? And it's the same with Black Ops 3, neither Richtofen or Samantha is in control, in fact we don't know who is, but still when we die we get sent back to the beginning, so who is it? And the only answer I can think of is it must be Dr. Monty, or at least have something to do with him. I believe it's Dr. Monty who was setting these loops in the maps. He sent us back to the beginning to become Primus. We believe that is the start of the cycle, the start of this loop, and if it's Dr. Monty who does that, it must be him who keeps us alive. Every time we die, he resets the cycle, he resets the loop, keeping us alive, sending us back to beginning. So the only answer I can give you for that is Monty, although it isn't explained in the Chronorium, so I'm not 100%, but I would say that makes the most sense. The next question from Tajam Verse says, BOA. In Origins, Samantha says that Maxis copied the staffs, but who made the real ones? So good question, but we don't know who made the original staffs. Yes, we know that the ones that we use in Origins aren't the originals. They are just replicas that were made by Maxis. Of course, the originals were used in the 1300s, and the ones that we use in Origins were made by Maxis in 1917. We know in Origins, Maxis found Pablo's journal. Obviously, Pablo existed during the Great War in 1299. He was there fighting during the Great War, writing down in his journal exactly what happened. Pablo must have wrote down in that journal about the staffs that the Primus were using to defeat the Apothecans, probably about how they worked and what they looked like, and then obviously he lost this journal and it was found again hundreds of years later by Maxis in 1917. Maxis found the journal, used the information from it to draw up schematics of the staffs, and then he instructed Richtofen to begin building them. We don't know how exactly to the point they were to the originals, we don't know how similar they were, but that is how Maxis made them. And getting back to your question, who made the originals and what happened to them? Well, we don't know who made them. It seems like they have something to do with magic, or maybe 115. Were they made by the Primus characters themselves? Did they each make their own staff? Did they have something to do with Monty? We don't know. And also, what happened to them? Again, we don't know. It just says in the Chronorium, after Primus defeat the Apothecans and bring the Great War to an end, they seemingly disappear from history. Seemingly means to give the impression of having a certain quality, or apparently, so apparently they disappear from history. It doesn't seem like no one's sure what happened to them. They just disappeared. They were never heard of ever again after this. My guess is that they took these staffs with them. What they did with them, what happened after though, we don't know. Anyway guys, there we go. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating. Could we reach 1.5k likes on this video? I think we could definitely do that. You guys are awesome. Make sure you leave your comments in the comment section below. Any questions you have, make sure you are subbed. And of course, we'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching and goodbye.